Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at three different coins and really kind of seeing where they're going to go from here and what to really expect. So we're talking about Ethereum, Solana, and of course Cardano, since these are kind of tied together and they kind of prepare the same. If you haven't already, do subscribe, drop a comment, and click that bell icon and let us know what you think. Okay, so speaking about Ethereum, Ethereum is not very, well, how can we say it? It's not very interesting here lately, and we'll talk about that now. It's trading around 1,842 on the daily chart. What we're looking at? Looking at the 24-hour volume, the volume is doing nothing. We can see closer here that we're kind of hanging out. We have a support level at around 1822 or so, and it's just kind of, well, that's kind of what we're going to expect to see more and more unless something major happens. Now, of course, we're talking about back in March here of this year and another major moment for in May, and that's pretty much that big hurdle because we have resistance back in March, we have support as well coming up around 1700, so it's kind of really not doing a whole lot, kind of similar in terms of the movement structure, just kind of like a lifeline that was dropped and kind of finally got back. But I don't really see it doing much more now. Of course, if all things go haywire, it could potentially go back to around 1700 bucks if it all hell breaks loose, and that's not what we want to see. But on the upside, if we can kind of manage to get past the 1900 mark, which we haven't seen since around July, since around the middle of July, and that was very briefly, just for a couple of days, honestly. We're not going to see much more than that. So, of course, we have that same moment coming through back in May and back in April is what's stopping us. Now, that next mark coming in from there could be 1950, around 100 bucks more than what it is sitting at today. But overall, if you really look at it, we're a bit of in a downtrend, and it continues to look that way. But I believe we're just gonna kind of sit off into a range because back again around the 13th of July, that was that major move. We need to get pushed past that when we touched 2000 back in July. But since then we just slowly just kind of fell off that market area. So we need to get back at least minimally to around 1900 bucks. And then we can really start to have an eye more promising on 2000. But until then, we're kind of sitting like ducks in the water. All right, connection lost. Okay, and Solana. Now we were the last time that we spoke about Solana, we were in a downtrend, but we did kind of finally break out above that in at the beginning of August, around a week ago. And here we can see they have this box kind of representing what we have is for our resistance line, which is where we're kind of sitting at now. So it's an interesting moment because we have the points being from April, kind of giving that fire into stopping us, and back in January as well. This one I really wouldn't call it too much, but you can, and not too strong in February. But this is where we kind of keep getting stopped at. The volume too is also starting to increase slightly, not too much. Low volume, we need to see a little bit of a higher price, and that will be good because, of course, that will signify a reversal for what it's doing. But it's trading around 24 bucks. It's horrible to see Solana at such a low price. If you've already bought, of course, if you're trying to enter, it will be okay for you as well. But here's those main points that we got for, we'll kind of checking in. All right, so right here, this moments, and of course we're kind of sitting in this one as well because these major market structures that we have going on. And if you count this one, so it's not something that's just to be taken lightly, and we're not just going to shoot past this. And if we do, we still have $27 to contend with back from the previous support from October of last year. So once we kind of break past that, I think it'll be somewhat easier to push above around 28, at least to get around 30 bucks, and that's where we want to see a good push. It would be really beneficial to see that. Now, of course, back in July we had it at 31 briefly, of course, before it kind of fell off as well. But uh, looking down, if we're talking about the negative side of things, 19 bucks is what it could potentially be. around 19, 20. If again, all hell breaks loose, but we kind of have that moment here um, in July, and we can say this right here. So between March and February would keep it from downsliding too much more. So 21 would be a big point, and then 20 bucks could potentially be again going off of the current market structure. And for Cardano, Cardano is always breaking hearts for everyone. It's trading around 29 cents. We also have the volume kind of stabilizing a little bit of a downtrend for now, slowly, ever slightly. So it's a little bit more healthy, honestly, in a downtrend. But I think if it continues to go down, we can see a stop at around 27. And the potential is around 26. Now, some people are saying it can go back up around 37, and when we're talking about 37, that's kind of applying back from July is when we had that pump recently, and it got stopped off since that market structure that was kind of done back in June. And this is kind of what that next big hurdle really, the next really the big moment that we need to see is around 35. We need to get to that point, but the problem is that we're creating another hurdle as well, essentially creating another resistance. And this is what this is really, this block right here. And this moment is what we need to see more of, because at this point, when we had that big jump, it was a previous, so it can actually come back to here. And we're kind of fighting that. So we need to break past that and then 31 to get further on into the price amount of around 35 cents. But again, the volume looks okay. It's not too dramatic. We need to see it slowly start to increase, at least in price, but there's just not enough price action going on. It's kind of dead. Everybody's moving on into the to the altcoins at this point, and that's kind of giving us a bit of a hurdle, because all this boring price action, if we're talking about Ethereum, if we're talking about Cardano, is really making everything not so interesting for investors. We want to see some action. We want to see it going up, going down. We want to be able to trade a market, right? Not going off pennies necessarily speaking, but we want to see this pushing through. So with the volume kind of going in and it's not doing much, I'm not going to sit on the market for much. Most people won't. And this is what we're seeing, and how the guys that are sitting on the market with such a boring price action, you're not going to see this increase until something happens, some kind of news or something really kind of pushes interest back into this. But right now it's altcoin time. Cardano is an altcoin, essentially. I mean, it's up into the top, but we're looking for some movement. So everybody's in the meme coins going on, and NFTs really kind of happening. Stuff is starting to move. Some new releases are coming out. That's what investors are jumping to. Solana and Cardano are kind of like moving in. Investors are coming, but that last big pump, like I said, was back in July, and ever since then people started selling off, and then of course it continued and continued. Now it is stabilizing, but the stabilizing could stop around 27, and that's highly possible. 27 or even 25 would be a moment that it could actually fall back down to. And depending on if it does fall, you'll see a lot of people jumping on board again, and then it'll push the price back up in that way. So you have to understand what you're trading in. Are you going long? Are you going short? Are you just day trading? What's really your going? Now, I'm kind of bullish on, or I'm kind of bearish right now on Cardano. So I would definitely have a short bias, seeing that it's kind of got this action moving all, unless it touches in and starts to really break through, and I can see. And of course, we would have to do that by dropping into the 4 hour chart, but you can see 4 hour chart would kill me as far as my patience go, because I mean, even just as like zoom in on that, you can see that it's uh not that interesting. All right, guys. A reminder, support the channel, subscribe, drop a comment, and I will see you guys again next time.